What is up guys, it's Jordan here and welcome back to a brand new video. I know as usual it's been a little while since I uploaded, but there is genuinely a very good reason and also a very good reason why I couldn't make a video talking about it, which I will hopefully discuss tomorrow. It's going to be a little bonus video because as you know I should be uploading every Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. However, I will try and upload this little video tomorrow just explaining why I couldn't talk about what's been going on in my life. It's actually really good news, it's all super exciting and positive, nothing bad has happened. But yeah, I'll go over that tomorrow and explain everything, and it's kind of been killing me that I couldn't actually make a video on it. But yeah. But anyway, in today's video, we're going to be talking about that one game that I very rarely talk about. You know, that little tiny game, Rainbow Six Siege. Don't know if you guys have heard of it. Kind of made a couple of videos on this channel because, you know, primarily I'm a Fortnite YouTuber now. That I'm going to make that a thing now because everyone else is becoming a Fortnite YouTuber. No, I'm joking. I'm really not going to become a Fortnite YouTuber. I'm not massively into the Battle Royale thing. I think it's just kind of being overdone right now. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about Rainbow Six Siege and why it's so popular, because there's a few things here that some of you may not know about, especially if you kind of got into Siege within the last couple of years. So we're going to wind the clock back a little bit and talk about before it came out, the leading up to it, the alpha, the E3 trailer, the infamous E3 trailer, and then a few other things as to what makes this game so popular. Anyway guys, we're going to roll the intro and we're going to hop straight into this video. So the footage in the background I'm going to be showing you is some of the alpha footage from the game. I've made a video reacting to the entire video of this. So if you're interested in the footage in the background, link is in the description for the video of me reacting to the alpha footage. It's a completely different game. I swear down, it's like you won't even recognize it when you watch the footage. It's that different. But basically, in the lead up to the game coming out, obviously we had some alpha footage and it was very different in terms of the entire game. It wasn't like operator based with special abilities and all sorts of things. It was purely terrorists versus SWAT. There was nothing special about them. They all looked sort of the same. The SWAT characters looked the same. The terrorists all pretty much used the same skin. And fair enough, it was alpha, so I think they were planning on, at the time, implementing character customization. But at this point, there was no special abilities. There was no plans for special operators. It was meant to be a tactical, straight-up 5v5 sort of game, which took itself very seriously, which is very different from the game we have now, because some of the operators are, you know, a little bit cheesy. They make jokes. It's a bit silly, a bit tongue-in-cheek in places. Whereas that was not the case. This was full-on Tom Clancy before it came out. And that is a big part, I think, in why this game ended up being such a success, because if it had stayed terrorists versus SWAT, like nothing special about it, just straight up 5v5 with, you know, maybe some weapon customization and all that, it would have just been, you know, an average tactical shooter, maybe a good one, because the gameplay I'm sure would have been fairly similar, but I don't think it would have had as much attention drawn to it as it does now, because a big part of the game is the operators, and also a big part of the content they release is the operators. So without that being in the picture, it kind of definitely changes the entire course of how the game, well, would go. It would be a completely different game. I very much doubt it would have been supported for as long. It wouldn't have had such interesting new content, and it wouldn't have had all that hype around, you know, which operators coming out next. It would have just been probably microtransactions with gear customization, if I'm being totally honest. Probably would have become one of those situations where the game wasn't doing that well, so they just kind of threw into microtransactions and try and milk it for what it was. Thankfully that did not happen, and it took a completely different approach, but that is definitely the first major thing, was that decision change to go from the basic terrorists versus SWAT to the operator based gameplay. I think that was, whether or not you love it or hate it, there are many hardcore Tom Clancy fans which would much prefer the more realistic approach. That's definitely one of the biggest reasons as to why this game turned around so quickly from its initial alpha gameplay. However, before we get to the operators, there was the E3 trailer. This is infamous mainly for being a weird representation of what they wanted the game to be, because it didn't come out that way at all, and also for having massively over exaggerated graphics. Like, it looks brilliant in the E3 trailer, and bearing in mind this trailer came out what, 3 years ago, sorry, it still looks 1,000 times better than Siege now, and Siege is not a bad looking game. Like, it's not brilliant or mind-blowing, but it's not bad. But this E3 trailer is awesome, as they normally are. Cough cough, Watch Dogs. But this trailer got people kind of, well, for a start, people kind of knew it was going to be a massive downgrade and it wasn't going to look like that. There was already lots of people preempting it was going to flop. But after this E3 trailer, there was not a lot of hype around this game at all. It was already being predicted just to be a massive flop and a cash grab on the Tom Clancy name, purely just because it didn't look that interesting. It was just going to be one of those games where you pick it up, play it for a few months and think, oh, you know what, that was cool, that was different, and then you put it back down. So now we're going to roll the clock forward to the release of the game and onwards, and talk about what happened on the release of the game onwards and what made it so popular. Now that we're talking about current things, I just want to remind you that I'm going to be still referring to 2015-16, so that's pre-Battle Royale, when people wanted that game mode in every single game ever. Siege Battle Royale coming 2019. God. But yeah, so basically I think one of the biggest reasons as to why this game became so popular is it embodies 3 popular types of games into one. And bear in mind, these were 3 popular games at the time of its release, not so much now. One of them particularly has slowed down massively. So the first one is Overwatch, and I talked about this a little bit a minute ago with these operators / special characters with abilities, whatever you want to call them. It has that addictive gameplay which people love about Overwatch in terms of the characters, and each one having its own unique set of weapons and abilities and things that it can do. And that is a very popular theme which is also transferred into some other games like Call of Duty, for instance. I think Black Ops 3 was the first one that adopted this specialist thing where they took on the same idea of having special characters with their own abilities and unique things about them. And I'll be honest, I mean, I like it, but I don't quite understand why it's as popular as it is. But nonetheless, it is a very popular thing which started with Overwatch, and other games picked up on it, and Siege was one of those games that adopted that and has worked out massively in Siege's favour, because that is one of the core things of the game now, like I said earlier, especially with the updates. So I think that's the first game where it kind of, you know, it capitalised a little bit on the popularity of Overwatch and one of the biggest features of Overwatch. The next one was, I guess it's kind of Overwatch as well, but more so CSGO with the 5v5 straight up competitive gameplay. Once you die, you die. Very team based, very squad based. I don't really play CSGO that much, so I'm not going to talk about CSGO that much because I don't want to say something that's completely wrong. But nonetheless, CSGO has always been an extremely popular 5v5 competitive game with a very questionable community from what I've been told. But the core idea of 5v5 with not permadeath, but you know, death per rounds and not coming back with respawns or whatever is a very popular thing, which also Siege took. So now you've got 2 very popular features from 2 very popular games that are in Siege, which is obviously going to, it's very good for that, because you've got 2 different types of people that are going to be interested in this game. They're going to be people that have been playing Overwatch are going to take a look and go, oh, that looks kind of interesting, it's a little bit similar to what I've been playing, I'll give it a go. You've got CSGO players that are going to be going, okay, another 5v5 competitive game, interesting, I'll give it a go. So that's 2 crowds of people. The final one is I've left it to the last thing because it's not that important, but it's definitely something that was very popular at the time, and that was the ranking system, similar to what League of Legends started. And I know League of Legends didn't start ranking systems by any means, but it definitely became much more of a popular thing in gaming after League of Legends, because that game back in like 2014-15 was the most popular game out. And I know it's still very popular, but it's slowed right down because of, again, Battle Royale. But a big thing in LoL was the ranking system. I never played LoL personally, I could never really get into it, but every time my friends were talking about it, or people online or posts, it always had something to do with people's ranks, and everyone was trying to get up, and it was like such a competitive environment that made it very popular. And then Siege comes along with those 2 other things from the other 2 games, and also with a ranking system like League of Legends, which I think Call of Duty now also has that. And I don't know about Overwatch because I haven't played any ranked on that either. I don't know if that has the same ranking system. But League of Legends is the example I'm choosing because obviously it was one of the biggest trendsetters for that kind of thing. And now you've got 3 popular features from 3 popular games all into one game, which obviously is very good because you've got 3 different types of people that are going to be potentially coming over to try out Siege, which then leads on to the next thing of why Siege did pretty damn well after it launched, despite not having a lot of hype to it or much to it at all really. It was one of those games that was under the radar until a few months after it launched. But the next thing is high praise from those that did play it early on. When it first launched, it was by no means perfect, it was by no means sensational, and the reviews were not saying that it was like the best game ever, but it had, you know, a steady stream of very positive reviews. Other than lack of game modes and general content at the beginning, because people didn't quite understand where this game was going, it had good reviews. People loved the gameplay, they loved the style of the game, the features, and how addictive and replayable it was. And those reviews started coming in pretty much from the day it launched, and it was continuously getting more and more positive reviews, which obviously gets people more and more interested. And then as a result, you get YouTubers that want to try out the game, you get more news articles written about the game. It just sort of grows by itself without having to have Ubisoft, you know, try and push it too hard. It just kind of started growing by itself just through word of mouth, which is one of the best things for a game. Like, you can put as much money as you want into advertising a game, which has made successes out of some terrible games in the past. But when you have a game which is kind of under the radar and then suddenly gets all this praise from actual players, that is invaluable. Like, you can't beat actual people saying, hey, this game is actually really good, come check it out, not, you know, tons and tons of things from the developer themselves saying how good the game is going to be. So that was definitely a big thing. And the next thing is kind of like I've mentioned it a few times in the recent points, but it's a unique spin on the type of game it was with destruction, because there's been, you know, lots of 5v5 competitive games, obviously the main one being CSGO, but to the best of my knowledge there's been none that had that really close quarters combat gameplay with lots of highly destructive environments. And the reason that's so important important is because for a game that has very little content, it added a very dynamic, replayable experience to the game, which is what you need in a game that has very little content. You need to have features where the players can continuously evolve by developing new strategies, improving their skills, and having each match feel a little bit different from the last, because if they didn't have destroyable environments and it was just static maps, this game would have died so quick. It would not have gone anywhere, because people just get bored, because there wasn't tons of maps, there was, you know, definitely not tons of game modes. It was pure, this game was, you know, going to live or die based on its gameplay, and thankfully it had very good gameplay that was quite unique at the time, and is now, you know, is what it is. So the final point, which I think was the final thing that just kind of said, okay, this game is staying for good, was the massive emphasis and push on esports. Esports has absolutely taken off in the last couple of years, and I think any game that has has solidified its position in esports is the game that's going to be around for a while, because some people will purely play a game and get into it for esports. There are tons of people that will watch it online, or, you know, see it being streamed and think, okay, you know what, I'm going to try that game, I'm going to play that game, I want to get good at that game because I can see all these people making careers out of it and doing well for themselves, and it just adds this entire other layer to the game that wasn't there before esports. Because I remember before esports was announced for Siege, everyone was saying, you know, why does this game not have esports? It's so perfect for esports, and people were like, well, why do I want to keep getting better and better if there's going to be no competitive side to it? Like, this game is so good, but like people just didn't want to practice and get better at it, and all of a sudden they came out and said, hey, we're going to be doing esports, we're going to be doing big tournaments, we're going to be streaming it, and now it's a huge thing, and people get into the game purely to try and improve their skills and see if they can make something out of it, which is, you know, it seems like a weird thing for me. I wouldn't personally start playing a game just to try and get into esports, because it's a very select few that actually make it there, but nonetheless it's definitely a good way to get people involved by saying, hey, you know, this is a game that not only is fun, but you could potentially make a career out of it if you got really good at it. They're the main things about why I think Siege has become so popular. The final thing, really, it's not really a final point, but just to add to it, is just regular content. Regular content on a schedule that people know, and they know when to expect content, and they know it's always going to be there. That's a big thing, not leaving people in the dark. Now, I know Ubisoft aren't great at times of communication, but at least people know there's always going to be a new season. Until Ubisoft says, hey, we're not making a new season, which will happen one day, whether it be a couple of years or lots of years, who knows. But the fact that people always know there's content coming on a regular basis is definitely one of the things that keeps people interested and invested in the game. But anyway, guys, I'm going to cut this video off here because I don't want it to be too long. I just wanted to go over these points, and because I've been sort of flicking between playing Siege a lot and not playing it at all in the last few months because of just life, I just started thinking about why it's so popular, and I wanted to make this video and go over the points I've been thinking about. But feel free to let me know in the comments anything you think about why the game is so popular. Add anything you want to it, get a discussion going. That's always the most exciting parts about these videos, is getting a discussion going and sort of reading in the comments everyone else's opinions on it. Anyway, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video, and I am sorry for not uploading very much recently. Like I said, as soon as I get a chance, I will make the video explaining everything and just sort of the excitement that's going on in my life at the moment, because it is really cool. But anyway, I hope you do have a nice week, and I will see you all in the next one.